Welcome back to our first fall parent chat. We are so excited to be back. We've missed everybody. We've missed that sense of community. We are super excited to kind of get the ball rolling again and feel like we can support one another. And one amazing way we can support one another is through meditation. And I am so grateful, and Balance in Mind is grateful as well, that we have Marrie here today. Marrie is an integrative therapist, personal trainer with over 20 years of experience. And throughout her career, Marrie has helped countless patients navigate their struggles with health, food, and beauty image. She's been recently supporting our Balance in Mind teen community by providing opportunities for teens to ask anonymous mental health questions and wellness questions through our Balance in Mind Instagram live session. And it's called Mindset Matters with Marrie. So if you have middle schoolers or high schoolers, or even for yourself, you're welcome to join us on Instagram Live not every Wednesday. Maybe someday we'll get there to every Wednesday, yes. But we will let you know when the next one is coming. And teens have been really loving it. So Marrie, take it away. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. And thank you, Balance in Mind, for everything that you're doing for our teen community and for parents. It is so appreciated. I think in this time when things are really, really hard for a lot of people, it is incredible to see also communities coming together and see resources growing and see our awareness growing for how important those resources are. So I'm so grateful that you guys are doing all the work that you're doing to support our teens in mental health. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Marrie. I'm a therapist locally. My office is in Bellevue, although mostly my office is online doing Zoom right now. And you can always feel free to reach me through Balance in Mind or through my own Instagram, which is Mind Fit Wellness. I wanted to talk a little bit today and offer some really brief, simple strategies, because I think that's really helpful when things feel so big and so overwhelming. It's just a few things that we can do daily that don't take much time. Maybe it could even be 1 minute, it could be 2 or 3 minutes, it could be 5, but these little interventions can really help kind of reset our nervous system and really help our health. So as a therapist, this is definitely a time that I've seen the most anxiety and depression and uncertainty ever in 20 years of practice. I think we all can see it and feel it around us. And some of the things that we can do to kind of build our resiliency and well-being are practices that include kind of being mindful and present. And gratitude is one of the best strategies that we have. And interestingly, we have so much research actually and evidence-based science around how gratitude changes our brain. It's pretty incredible. It's something that's kind of right at your fingertips and can really shift how we're doing. So what we're going to practice today is a brief meditation around gratitude and kindness. And I know those words right now are really buzzwords. We talk a lot about gratitude and mindfulness and meditation. And the reason that those are buzzwords right now is that partially they work, and that's really cool. And it's really kind of empowering for us to know that there's some things that we can practice that are easy at our fingertips and can help us feel better. Some of the really cool benefits of gratitude that I wanted to share before we do the meditation. And I think during this especially difficult time with COVID and uncertainty and kids doing school online, is gratitude actually boosts our ability to feel connected to ourselves and to the people around us, which is so important right now. It also increases empathy, which, that empathetic response, being kind and compassionate to ourselves and to others and to the world around us, is really needed right now. We also know that it lowers blood pressure, decreases anxiety, can lower your heart rate, can improve self-esteem. So there's so many beautiful benefits, and it's just so easy. So the practice of gratitude really just means that we're taking some time to appreciate. So I want you to kind of get in that mind space right now around appreciation. And we're going to start, and you're welcome to close your eyes if you would like to, and you're welcome to keep them open if you would like to as well. And we're just going to start by taking a few deep breaths in. And I think it's helpful to start with breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. And as you're taking these deep breaths in, you can think about the being grateful and appreciative for your lung capacity, that you're able to bring in that air. And as you're taking your exhale out, think about kind of what you're ready to release and kind of let your body and your muscles relax a little bit. And as you continue to take those deep breaths in through your nose and out through your lungs, also take a moment to think about your feet being grounded to the floor. And one of the things that we can be grateful for right away is the strength of our body and our health. And sometimes when we're swimming in uncertainty, it's really important to see that in this moment of time, which the moment is all we ever really have control over, we know that we are healthy. So we can take a deep breath in and feeling our lungs expand. We can be so grateful that our body is healthy and can do that work for us. And we can take another deep breath in and exhale. Just kind of let your body continue to soften and relax, and notice that you are safe and that you are strong and that you can trust yourself and trust your mind to choose what you are thinking about. And as we're thinking about gratitude, you might feel a shift in your mind and in your body a little bit as you're thinking about what you're grateful for in your own body, as you're thinking about what you're grateful for around you. And that might include your family. That might be that we are inside and not outside in the rain. That might be that it's raining. But you can see right away, it starts to kind of connect you and relax you. And that is the beautiful thing about it's really showing you the power of your mind and how you can quickly shift how you're doing by focusing on these things that are really important to us. Take another deep breath in and exhale. And you can think some more about the things that you're grateful for and your health. And that real brief practice that just took us just a few minutes can really bring into awareness the importance of taking a moment for yourself. And you can be grateful that you have the opportunity to do that and really appreciating our health and what our body can do for us. So when you're ready, and if your eyes were closed, you can go ahead and open your eyes and kind of check in with how everybody's doing and see if any of you have any questions about that. You can do that with yourself anywhere. You can take a moment. One of my favorite gratitude practices is before you go to bed at night. This actually increases your sleep quality. Before you go to bed at night, think about the things that you're grateful for throughout the day, the things that you have achieved throughout the day. A lot of times we fall asleep thinking about a to-do list or things we haven't yet accomplished. So let's really take the time to think about and appreciate what has gone well in the day. At least 2 things that you're grateful for. And then also thinking about the next day, 2 things that you're looking forward to. That's a really quick practice. You can do that with your kids as well at the dinner table. It's a really helpful way to start connecting with yourself and helping your brain think about the things that are going well, even though things are really, really hard. And we can be grateful even when things are hard. I would definitely acknowledge that this is an extremely hard time for many, many people. And it's important to learn the practice of saying, even though today, some of our teens, like, even though today sucked, even though you didn't get to see your friends and you didn't get to do your sports and whatever else is not happening, what can we find that we're grateful for? And that might just be like the capacity that we have, just noticing we are able to breathe in that air and exhale. And, we are able to use our senses, which is another way to really calm your body to help you feel grounded and strong. So gratitude is really powerful. You can do it in lots of ways. People do gratitude journals. You can just think about it. You could talk about it. I would really encourage everybody to think about that practice. And if we got everybody out there, if you think about the thousands of people in the world thinking 2 gratitude thoughts a day, we would probably be making a pretty big impact on the world around us.
Great. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
I know for me, when I haven't been meditating regularly, it's almost sometimes I can feel anxious about not being able to focus when I'm meditating. Is there a suggestion for maybe other people as well as myself, a way to not have that happen?
Sure. First of all, I think that's really, really common. And I just want you guys to know that I didn't start playing around with meditation until pretty recently, maybe in the last 5 years. And I'm a pretty high intensity person. And my coping was always a lot of exercise and movement. And I thought, oh, I can't meditate because I can't sit still. Well, that's really not true. And I think we don't have to meditate by sitting in a quiet room for hours at a time thinking about nothing. It really can be outside on a walk. It can be with your eyes open. It can be with your eyes closed. It's really that you're just taking a moment. And I think we just start with in this moment of time. And I really like that statement because really in this moment of time is all we ever have absolute control over. And doing something to physically kind of ground your body is helpful. So I like putting one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly. And I think if you can just agree to yourself that you're going to just take 3 deep breaths in. And then from there, we can see where we go next. Okay. And so it's just starting really, really small. And if you're feeling that anxiety in your chest, it's a great practice to take that deep breath in, really feel your lungs expand, and exhale. And that's meditation. It doesn't have to be a big, ginormous ordeal. It's just that in a moment of time, you're calming your thoughts or you're focusing your thoughts. You can even say, I'm anxious and I'm having stress thoughts. That's being mindful. That works too. Yeah. So just I think little by little becomes a lot. And there's a lot of great apps out there that are really helpful. I think that's a great thing. Just use an app. You don't have to do it for yourself. Headspace is a wonderful app that has many 1-minute meditations. And that's actually how I started. I was like, if I can do it for a minute, I'm cool. If that counts, I can start there. And it's amazing how you can build up from that. So just start with a minute and build up from that. Another great one is Happy Not Perfect. That's a really fun one for teens. So
Headspace is good for younger kids too, right?
Headspace is good for all ages. You can actually set, you can go in and you can set an age preference. So you can go all the way down. I think it starts at age 4 to 6 and then goes up from there. And those meditations are really brief, 1 to 3 minutes. And they have little animations to kind of show you an example of kind of what you're doing when you're trying to just be calm and present.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Does anybody else have questions while we have a few more minutes?
Just unmute yourself if you have a question.
Do you have a favorite practice, Marrie? Any kind of meditation, or are you more of a movement person?
I definitely love gratitude, and I do that every single day. And I've been using it more now than ever before. You'll notice, I do have a son that's a senior, so it's a hard time. And so, I'll notice that I'm getting sometimes a little stuck and sidetracked in all the things that we're not doing. And so I'll just be like, okay, so yes, this is hard. And even though it's hard, yes, I can at least do this with him. I'm here and we're present and we're together. So I think gratitude I'm using a lot just to kind of shift my mind. I listen to Headspace, the sleep meditations every night before sleep. Every single night. And I love the sleep meditations. They are really, really great. They also have some what they call sleep SOS. So if you're waking up at night or if you're having any racing thoughts, those are so, so, so helpful. So I do that a lot. And then, as a therapist, throughout the day, I'm taking in a lot of, and I'm, obviously, a pretty empathetic person. I think they go hand in hand. I'm taking in a lot of people's stuff. So I try to also do a brief meditation between work and home, even if I'm working from home. And I think that's a thing for a lot of us right now is we're working from home. So the transition is very confusing. We're not really transitioning. And so I try to just take a minute and listen to a headspace and kind of leave work at work and have my mind and my heart and my energy ready to be at home. I have 4 children, so I've got to be there. Like there.
On your plate.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I've really been, coming from a person that was like, meditation is not for me, to like, oh my gosh, this is one of my like integral skills every single day. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge ordeal. It can really start with anything.
Yeah, I agree. I start with holding my coffee, holding my warm
Beautiful.
coffee, and just being grateful for my warm coffee in the morning.
Yes.
Sometimes that's all the time that I think I have
Yeah.
to, in that moment to be grateful. So.
And again, in that moment, and another really thing that's great that you pointed out is using your senses is another way to also be mindful and meditate. So, like you're holding something warm, you're smelling something, you're feeling something, you're hearing something. That's another way to calm our nervous system and be really present. And that's another way to meditate.
Okay.
So good call on that one.
Yeah.
Multiple benefits. Allison, good job.
Well, thank you, Marrie. I hope you'll come back.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me. And thank you guys again for all that you're doing and having this community for parents. We need it.
Thank you. And we need you. So we're
Thank
thankful for counselors too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so I guess we will move on to our parent chat. Welcome, everybody. We are talking about services today that our community need desperately. Let's see, Val, do you have the slides for us? Are you working on it? Thank you.
Hey.
We are talking about what our schools and what our community provide to help support our families and our kids in our community around mental health. So to think about some questions tonight, in the chat box, if you'd like to answer number 1, what is going well for you right now? This is maybe part of our gratitude meditation to think about what is going well for you right now. So if you can put that in the chat, it would be great to hear what good things are going on for everybody, since it feels like we hear too many negatives right now. And the second one is, where are your challenges with remote learning? There are many challenges with remote learning. So if you want to share some of those as well in the chat box, we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, I would love to introduce our special guests today. We have, sorry, Val, do you have the next? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go ahead with this first. Forgot about this. A parent chat is purely for educational purposes. We're not creating a client-therapist relationship during these talks. The web series and any services associated with the series, including but not exclusive to open office hours, social media posts, and any other form of communication, are for educational purposes only. If you need immediate support or are in crisis, text 741-741 for the crisis text line, or call Crisis Connection at 866-4-CRISIS at any time. Please know that this is a safe space and you can be real, but we ask that everyone be respectful and kind to each other. Okay, I'm just checking to see how many people are coming. Should we hang on for a minute, Val?
We're doing good. We have
Okay.
23 people right now, so I'd say let's just start.
Okay, great.
And I'll admit other people as they come.
Okay, perfect. So Balance of Mind is a grassroots group founded by some of us parents in Lake Washington School District, and we are powered by the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. We work with community partners,
Sorry about that.
That's okay, to raise awareness about emotional and mental health challenges facing our youth, to empower parents, and to build communities where our kids grow up healthy, resilient, and equipped for life. and my name is Alison McElroy. I am a co-founder. I have two beautiful daughters, as you can see there. I was a preschool teacher for a very long time and a yoga teacher, and I am proud to say now I am a member of Balance in Mind. And we have three special guests today, one of them being Noah Westerberg. Noah, he oversees all counseling services in our district, and he works with Lake Washington School District Student Services. We also have Brianne. She is with Evergreen Health, and she has much experience as a counselor working with teens and families, and will have great information for us today. And we also have Christy. Christy is the Director of School-Based Behavioral Health at Youth Eastside Services. She is fabulous and full of knowledge, and she administers the counselors throughout all of our middle and high schools. So thank you, all three of you, for being here today. I just wanted to mention that we're waiting to take questions until the end of the information we're being given. And so if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box, but we will not be answering them until after the information is presented. And also we will be doing a follow-up email with the resources and the slides in the mail, in your email, coming up tonight or tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for the information that's on the slides tonight and the resources. Let's see. Do we have any answers to our questions yet?
Oh, whoops, sorry. We're going to go to another set of slides. You know,
Okay.
This technology sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't.
While we're waiting for the
Hopefully
technology,
it's user error.
we can take a look at some of the answers people have come up with.
So let's see, somebody said, sometimes it's hard for my son, who's in 6th grade, to stay focused on online sessions consistently. Yes, that's a challenge. Thankful for our teachers, school, district, and how much effort has been put into the kids' schedules to making virtual school work. So true. It's easy to criticize, but it's a lot of work for them. Let's see, what else? Thankful that district learning is well structured and the new team solution works well as a one-stop shop. Okay, let's see.
And we've got the slides up.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I guess we'll go ahead with Noah. Noah, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Great, thank you for being here.
Yes, of course. Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's nice to see all you parents and family members here. So I'll go ahead and get started. So on this slide, I just kind of wanted to point out that in our district, we have our Student Services Department, and our mission is really just to ensure that all of the students in our school district matter, that they belong, and that they are safe. So basically everything that falls under the umbrella of our department helps ensure that that happens. Tonight we're going to be focusing on really important people who are there to support your students. So that includes school counselors, as well as our behavioral health support specialists from Youth Eastside Services, and then also our social workers from Evergreen Health. And on this slide, I just wanted to point out that in addition to that, we also have some programs and systems in place to support the social and emotional well-being of our students. We have social emotional learning curriculum in all of our middle schools and elementary schools. And then all of our high school staff get trained on how to have positive and strong relationships with their students. Oh, sorry, can you go back to the last slide, please? So school counselors, they are certified or licensed educators who are really there to help every student in the school be successful. And that's through implementing a comprehensive school counseling program. There's 3 areas of support, but tonight we're really going to focus on that one in the middle, helping our social and emotional development of our students. And then at the bottom, those are some of the ways that they support students. So they spend time checking in with students individually. They run counseling groups. They also partner really closely with community agencies, families, and school staff. So we can move on to the next one. So here, I just wanted to make sure that you guys all knew how to access your school counselors. We're very fortunate in our district. Every one of our elementary schools has a full-time school counselor, which is not the case in every district. And we also have a number of different counselors at the secondary level. And although we are right now in a virtual setting and working remotely, all of our counselors are still providing very similar services as they would normally in school. They just look a little bit differently. So we're really lucky that our counselors are still able to have one-on-one meetings with students and parents through Microsoft Teams. And then if you don't know who your child's school counselor is, or you need to access, get their contact information, you can go to the school webpage. All of our school web pages have a staff directory, and that's where you would find the counseling contact information. So over the next couple of slides, I've kind of broken down what the developmental needs are for students at each level. So we'll have elementary, middle school, and high school. I'm not going to go through every point here, but I just wanted to highlight a couple things. So at the elementary level, it's very common for students to kind of figure out how to identify and manage their emotions. So that's something that you might commonly need some extra support with, how to navigate that at home and supporting your child with that. It's also really common at this age, and actually any age really, to be honest, to have relationship or friendship issues. So those are just some common reasons why you might want to see a school counselor at the elementary level. Middle school is similar, so you'd want to see a counselor presenting social, emotional, or academic concerns. They can also help provide access to resources and support with transitions. I always think of middle school as the bridge between elementary and high school, and those transitions can be really stressful for some students. So if your child is having difficulty with if he's a sixth grader or she's a sixth grader and they're really struggling with a transition to middle school, working with the school counselor to help with that could be helpful or could be useful. And then also we have eighth graders who are about to go into high school, and that can be very nerve-wracking. So reaching out to the school counselor for some extra support around that. Also, half of mental health diagnoses emerge by age 14. So during the middle school years, we do see an uptick in mental health concerns. And that's why we have such a high focus on early prevention. And Kirsty will kind of talk about how her staff at YES support that. All right, and then high school. So when we're talking about high school, we're always kind of thinking about graduation. It's like that last stage in their K-12 years. So the high school counselors are really instrumental in helping support the graduation, helping prepare for any post-secondary options that students want to pursue. We also, at this age, students are starting to become more independent and are really strongly influenced by peers, which can lead to some extra peer pressure. So like substance use, like drugs and alcohol, that could be more common in the high school years. And Christy will also talk about that in a little bit and how her staff support students with those issues. And then right here, it's I just wanted to share that school counselors are your go-to people for any community resources that you might need. They really know who's in the community. They know your children. They know what their needs are and who might be a good fit. So I'd really encourage you to reach out to your child's school counselor if you need help getting a referral to services outside of the school. Another really good resource is the Washington Mental Health Referral Service. And this is run through Seattle Children's. If you just go to the Seattle Children's website and type this in, there's basically a database, and it can help you find different providers within your area, and providers that also align with whatever your child's needs might be. And then the last one's a really great resource. I share this with families all the time. It's the Eastside Cultural Navigator Program. And this program is really designed to support families who speak a language other than English as their first language. They help families connect with a variety of different resources, but they also help them with get help with mental health resources as well. So that's a really good agency if you need any support and your first language is not English. So those are my slides. Now I'm going to pass it off to Brianne. I just want to kind of preface it by just saying that we're really fortunate in our district to have really strong partnerships with Evergreen Health and Youth Eastside Services. We have social workers from Evergreen in all of our comprehensive high schools, and we have behavioral health support specialists in all of our middle schools. So we're very lucky to have those partnerships. And then Brianne right now is going to talk a little bit more about the Evergreen services.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brianne, and I'm the supervisor for our Community Healthcare Access team over at Evergreen. As Noah mentioned, we have 4 social workers on our team. If you are connected with any of the high schools listed above, this is your social worker who is embedded in your high school. So feel free to take note of their names so that you can contact them directly.
We'll post those as well. So
Okay.
we got your back.
Thank you. So types of support that are available, we do not provide ongoing long-term counseling. We provide brief interventions and support. This could be quite a variety. We can meet with kids and connect them to an outside provider, for example, a primary or specialty clinic for physical health concerns. We can also connect them to a mental health provider long-term. We can provide psychoeducation for parents who contact us and say, you know, my kid's exhibiting some really unusual behaviors. Is this normal? Is this a sign of depression? How should I handle this? We also run 5 groups, which I'll get to at the very end of this. And we connect low-income students with community resources ranging from assistance with rent, utilities, gifts around the Christmas time, making sure that we're supporting our kids holistically. There are several ways that a student can come to us. Most of our referrals come from counselors and admin, but parents are able to refer kids to us as well. All you need to do is you can shoot an email to me directly or to the counselor or to the social worker at your kid's school, or let the counselor know. We are available every day on Teams from 9 to 4 p.m. as long as school is in session. We can check in with students. So if your kid had a rough night last night and you want somebody to check in with them, bring up counseling, we can engage in safety planning. So if there's any concerns that your kid is not safe and you want to know, like, hey, what can I do at home to make sure that they're safe? From locking up sharps and medications to getting them connected with somebody and having a safety plan for when they are starting to feel escalated. We can do ongoing follow-up. So if your child is connected with an outside provider, but we need to do some regular check-ins, we can get them enrolled in one of our groups and engage with systems outside of the school. So that might mean doing a full psychosocial assessment to see if your child needs to go to the emergency department or needs a higher level of care. So some parents have reached out and said, you know, I don't know if my child needs to go to an inpatient facility or if there's additional services that I'm not aware of, and we can do a full assessment and make recommendations based off of that.
Can I ask a quick question? So if in fact that's the case, then we just contact the person that you, for our school that was in the previous slide? Yep.
It's a much easier process if you let us know prior to trying to figure that out yourself. One of the reasons for that is we are connected with several of the emergency departments in the area, and we can complete a full assessment and make a recommendation from there. So when I used to work in the emergency department, if one of the social workers called me, I very much took their recommendation to heart and could expedite that when the child did show up to the emergency department. And also it might not be necessary, so we could save you and your family a 6+ hour hospital visit, which I know nobody wants to do at 8 p.m. in the middle of a pandemic. So some of the goals, we were originally established in the schools to reduce emergency department visits, to keep kids from being to keep kids from being suspended when they were exhibiting signs of suicide ideation or self-harm. Our goal is to increase scores on healthy youth surveys, improve student engagement at the high school level, keep kids focused and on the path to success, and ensure safety for everyone, and that folks are connected with the providers that they need to be with. It can be a complicated system to navigate, as I'm sure many parents are aware of. And then lastly, like I said, our social workers are available every day, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., as long as school's in session. Here are a few of the groups that we are offering. So for all the parents on the call, we have parent groups every Monday and Friday. And I'm sure Balance in Mind will send this information out. But Monday and Friday from 6:30 to 7:30, we have 2 parent support groups every week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so in the middle of the week, we have 3 groups for students, and the contact information for each of those is in the emails. These are open groups. You don't need to attend each week, but they are available ongoing, that if you just need to pop in, you can get a quick refresher on, some things to do as a parent when you're at home. Thank you.
Thanks, Brianne.
Thank you, Brianne. That was awesome.
Of course, I'll pass it off to Christy and not take all the time.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, and here we have the first slide, and I think the emphasis is on that word partnership, which you've already heard Noah and Brianne talk about. And you can go ahead and move to the next slide. And what I have to say about that is that we can use that. Marrie, when she was doing the meditation, had talked about certain buzzwords that are around these days in terms of mindfulness and gratitude. And I think the phrase, "it takes a village," is one of those. I'm sorry if there's a little bit of echo. I'm hearing that, but I'm not sure how to get rid of it. And it takes a village could be a trite saying, but it actually is really true. And so, as Noah had said, we're really fortunate, I think, in our larger East Side community, that there are these strong partnerships between the behavioral health organizations in the community and the school district. The behavioral health support specialists, that program is most robust at the middle schools, but we do have some presence also in the high schools. Our goals, I think, are the same from what Noah is naming in terms of children and youth developing their coping skills and their emotional wellness that Brianne is talking about those things being so important to their ability to engage in school and to learn and to really become their whole selves. So in serving that, we really do a spectrum of things, from education for an entire school, classroom, staff, parents, and students, to short-term interventions using best practices such as cognitive behavioral therapy. So really helping students learn kind of how their thinking and their emotions and their behavior are kind of going together. We offer a variety of groups as well, and you'll see some of those as they come up here. Again, usually focused on a common theme. So it may be dealing with stress and anxiety, it may be dealing with sadness and depression, maybe a combination of that in response to the situation with COVID-19. Also, sometimes it's just simply friendship groups, etc. So wherever there's support needed, it makes sense to do a group as opposed to a one-to-one. The behavioral health support specialists at the middle schools provide that suicide risk assessment that Brianne was just describing at the high school level, which was a great partnership with the school district initially in terms of really reducing those hospital visits that Brianne had discussed. But it used to be where, as a parent, you feel very frightened and distressed. And I think in the schools, they feel very much like, we want to make sure that this situation is responded to and that this individual child is safe. And I think used to be we would do either like, oh, you're okay, or you need to go to the hospital and have an assessment. And most of the time, something on the spectrum is much more helpful for the student and for the parents. And so that process of involving the student, the school, and the parents in developing, really effective safety plans and really assessing for that level of risk has been, I think, so beneficial for so many, has really cut down on the hospital visits and has really, I think, made parents feel more comfortable and empowered. Just one of those kinds of pieces where that kind of intervention is really helpful. At the high school level, we do have a presence with YES, either behavioral health support specialists, and really that term came about for you to understand it is it really is putting mental health concerns, so kind of wellness, but big picture in terms of then, well, what about substance abuse issues and other kinds of behavioral things that trip us up sometimes? And so that whole, you'll have heard that term, I think, in the community, is behavioral health. So it's that whole spectrum of wellness that we want, and sometimes where we can kind of stumble a bit and need some supports as we go along. You move on to the next slide for me. Thank you. So the behavioral health support services are available at, as I said, the high school level and the middle school level. So you see the choice schools that behavioral health support specialists are in there on the right. At the high schools, I just continue with that, where we're there 8 hours a week serving each of the 4 comprehensive high schools. So that's a sliver of time, but we have a team of people who are serving the high schools in that way. And their focus really is on the substance abuse piece and where does that fit with the mental health. And so in that, the behavioral health support specialists work very closely with the Evergreen social workers and the school counselors in terms of making sure that youth who have substance abuse issues in addition to mental health issues are served. Similar to that, trying to kind of address things in a positive growth model or strength-based with the suicide and depression that we were talking about. With substance abuse, the district also made a commitment that rather than have a punitive response to anyone who had a substance abuse infraction or a concern, that instead they would look to using professionals who were trained in doing substance abuse assessment and screening to right there at school, provide that service. And so right now, all the things that you hear me saying at school, it's like Noah was talking about, Brianne, we're doing the same services essentially, but we've moved them to remote platforms until such time as we can do that in person. And there's a variety of those. So doing that assessment and looking at what's underlying that behavior, what's the trouble, where's the struggle, where are the skills lacking, how can we support the student and the family to get what their needs are met, identified and met, and then to help them kind of get back to healthy functioning. At the high school in October, we are starting 3 different groups that are available to students from any of the high schools that are here on this sheet here. So the 4 comprehensive and the choice. So Affected Others is really a support group for anyone who's affected by someone else's substance abuse. So peers, family members, etc. Recovery support is for any student wanting to or who would identify as being in recovery from substance abuse. So really needing that ongoing support in both of those cases. And then nicotine cessation, which is a 4-week, and now I'm like, oh, 4 or 6 weeks, program helping kids who have taken up vaping and nicotine. We were doing nicotine education and diversion in the schools, again, as part of that kind of non-punitive approach to disciplinary infraction of vaping at school or whatever. And some students, they were kind of playing around with the vaping. Some other students, they were physiologically addicted or had a habit with nicotine. And so we decided, well, they really need a program that helps them get ready to and quit. So we're offering that. And I think if you go on to the next slide for me, Val. That just shows you who's in the middle schools. And if we keep going here, And I know this is all kind of going to be posted or shared, right? So I'm not going to worry too much about kind of cruising through this where there's information you may not catch it. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of how you access those services. So I know it's a lot to remember. And because of being remote, it's not like you can call the school and say, can I talk to the behavioral health sports specialist, or necessarily email them. But what you can do is that you can always talk to the school counselor, because they can always direct you to the services and get you connected to the behavioral health sports specialist. And they're available in the schools that they're in to any student and to any parent, for consultation, support, and that whole range of services that we were talking about, up to, you know, that sort of the short-term individual or group interventions that go on, as well as kind of working the referrals and the connection to resources in the community. That link there will take you to the YES webpage, where we have a page where we're updating always the services and the contact information for the programs that are in the schools, as well as kind of our agency-based programs. So you can find that usually on your school's website and the district website, but for sure we keep that updated there on our webpage. We can go to the next slide. All right, just wanted to mention, and this is a little bit different than the partnership with Evergreen and the social workers at the high school and the behavioral health support specialists that I've just been talking about, but YES and 4 other community-based behavioral health agencies, I've listed them there: Asian Counseling Referral, Consejo, Sound, CMAR. We all have mental health therapists who, as part of their caseload, see students at school. So this isn't physical right at the moment, but they are still providing those services sort of designated to certain schools, elementary on up through high school. They're not in every single school in the district, but they are in many. And again, your school counselor is going to be the access for that. That program was developed in partnership between the agencies and the school district to serve students who might not be able to receive counseling or therapy services if it wasn't happening during the school day or at the school. And those services are not paid for by the district. They are billed to Medicaid and or insurance, depending on kind of what the student or the family has available. But I wanted people to know that that was another kind of thread that is woven in together of supports that are available to you in the school. Now, if we go to the next slide. Also, some of the community-based services that YES has operate sort of in partnership with the schools, and some things happen on site in the schools or directly with students, or are designed for students or for families. And again, more information about these is available on the YES webpage, or could be found if you contact your school counselor and or talk to the behavioral health support specialist. Latino Unidos is a cultural empowerment group for Latinx students. It's based out of Redmond High, and it's supported by the Redmond City Human Services, hoping to expand into Kirkland to be able to widen those services. And they also do partner with Padres Unidos, a service for parents. And so also we're looking to expand those services as well. Success Mentoring is like a Big Sister, Big Brother program that we have that serves students elementary on up through high school. Teen center programs that we have are available for students. We have a homelessness prevention with the emphasis on preventing as opposed to financial supports and other things, open to any family. Family net services at the elementary school level that operate by referral into those, and that's sort of an extra safety net for families. And Be Glad is a weekly support group for LGBTQ youth that happens at the agency, currently happens remotely, open to any students. And we are in conversation about sort of moving that into some support for middle schoolers, and hopefully being able to take advantage of the remote platforms to be able to serve those kids. Okay, we're almost done here. Next slide, please. Just want to be sure that people know that just like, part of the power with the Evergreen social workers is you have that connection then to this behavioral health, physical health agency in the community. that YES has a very extensive programming in their agency, as well as in the community and the schools. And we all interact with each other, support each other. So when you're working with a counselor, a behavioral health support specialist therapist from YES, you have the advantage of having all of this background of, multicultural therapists speaking 8+ languages, from early childhood mental health specialties to psychiatry. And because we all work together, the behavioral health support specialists are able to very easily connect you with agency-based services should that be a need. And because we work with the other agencies, we're also able to connect you with them as well as with Evergreen. Okay, I think that was my last slide. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Christy. I know this was a ton of information for you all. And again, this will be sent out to you, the slides and all the information we've received tonight, to your email by tomorrow. So keep an eye out for it. It's all incredibly useful information. We really appreciate the three of you being here tonight. So we want to open up this time for questions. I imagine there are a few. And we have wonderful people here to answer those questions for you. Let's see, I feel like we saw a question. Let's see.
Yeah.
While you're looking, I wanted to just reiterate one of the comments that came across, which is, these sound like great services. Wish I had known about them when I was going through this type of situation with my child. And I think that's really one of the reasons why Balance in Mind came about, was to help parents connect with resources that exist, because like you, I did not know that these existed at a time when I needed. And we all feel pretty strongly that no one should be in that situation. So it's great to know that these resources are out there, and that Evergreen is working with Youth Eastside Services, connecting with the counselors in the school district. And the more that we can spread that message, the more families hopefully will not have to go through what you and I went through.
Right.
Yes.
That's why we're here tonight, talking about this.
Absolutely.
Give us an opportunity to share about them, we will. Yeah.
Right. And, I think, Val, we found that once we started looking to see what the resources were out there, that there's a lot of good ones out there. We have a great community with great resources. It's just, they're not advertised on commercials on TV. It's sometimes you have to dig to find them. And so the more knowledge our parents have, the more they can share with others. So, and this is such an important topic, obviously, that we have to get the word out that there are some really good resources out there. I noticed somebody mentioned saying that this seems very reactive. I am interested in proactive things I can do to help my daughter grow socially, emotionally, especially during these days of isolation, gloom, and doom. Does anyone have a comment on that, or a suggestion, or?
I was going to pass that to Noah and then follow up with some things, because I think that there's a lot of work with the social emotional learning in particular that is very geared towards the proactive piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it depends like what grade level your child's in, but I know that a lot of our schools have done a 6-week reopen plan where they're focusing on different social emotional learning items. So it's really just like focusing on like what they can do within the school with their, with their peers. How can they keep those strong relationships? How can they manage their emotions? Different things, because we all know that the anxiety and stress levels are super high right now. So that's one thing that we're doing with our younger learners in all of our buildings. And I know like the middle school and high schools are also really focusing on supporting the social emotional learning of our students. So if your child if you notice any major changes with your child, I would definitely encourage you to contact your child's school counselor and just let them know kind of what's going on. And they'd be more than happy to check in with you and your child.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Kendrick. My daughter is in 1st grade right now, and we don't have any real problems with her right now, but I do know that in these first 4 or 5 years of school, very formative for young women. And I want her to grow emotionally stable and well connected with people. But I mean, even as a parent with all of this isolation, I find myself becoming more and more disconnected with people and not even caring about other people anymore because I'm not around them. I don't want her to go that route. I need to find activities, things that she can go and do, whatever it is, to connect with the human race, not just a TV screen. I mean, she gets 2 hours of educational instruction a day, and then what?
That sounds very challenging. Yeah. Well, does anyone have recommendations on what kids could be doing to fill in that time? I know for my daughter, I have an 11-year-old and an 18-year-old. But my 11-year-old, she literally will FaceTime friends and play Barbies or, do Roblox, which of course is on a screen. But, just doing creative things, unfortunately through screens. But at least giving them that opportunity for that connection, this social piece. They could be doing coloring together, but in separate homes, or I don't know, just it's such a hard time. It's hard to even know what to do. I get what you're saying, especially for first grader. They're too young to get it.
Well, even as a technology worker, I'm a principal engineer at T-Mobile, and we do all of our meetings remotely. But we have come to acknowledge that that works so far. After a while, you do need to get everybody into a room just to reconnect as people,
Yes.
to reestablish that team camaraderie. Then you can go back and work from home. If my daughter was to stay home with mom and dad 24/7, get her 2 hours on with her teacher each day, and then get daddy to make her do her homework,
Right.
there's some emotional downplay. It will affect her. I am setting up play dates with neighbor children. I have her signed up with something called Wilderness Awareness School, where she goes out into the forest with a group of people and gets to explore and things like that. But I'm just looking for more things local. That's a long drive out there.
So I'd like to suggest Camp Kindness.
Ooh,
I
that's
know
a-
that they were moving to online learning. In the past, they've had camps during the summer months, and then they've had weekly programs in the schools during the school year. But they do a really great job with bringing social emotional skills to elementary aged kids. And Bonnie, you might be able to talk a little bit more about that. But that's one thing I would suggest.
Where is that?
Camp Kindness is based out of Bellevue, I believe. And if you go to our YouTube channel, which there will be a link for in the mail that gets followed up with, but it's Balance in Mind on YouTube. Anyway, we have a video that we did. We have a interview that we did with Camp Kindness, where they walked through some of what they're doing. So it'd give you a good idea of the type of program that they run.
Okay, cool.
To add to that, I know a lot of the skilled nursing facilities and adult family homes in the area are really struggling lately with lack of visitation for some of their most senior members. So getting kids to write letters and connect with them. I know a lot of people would love a pen pal right now. So while that's not in person, I think that that's a great way to get your kid practicing some of the school skills of writing and connecting with others, and also actively participating in their community and building that connection. And while my team doesn't work with elementary school kids, I've got a lot of friends who have elementary school kids, and they've kind of said, you have to weigh some of the risk with also the risks that, Kendrick, you're talking about with social emotional learning, and saying, we're going to connect with one family, and that's going to be the family in our bubble, because it is damaging to kids to not interact with others, and making that balance and choice for you as a family and what works best for your kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that's why there really is that focus on the elementary school children when kids can come back safely on campus, that it's going to start with elementary school for those very reasons that you're outlining, Kendrick. So good to hear that. I also see in the chat too an idea from Daniel about the school helping to set up play groups, and so kind of having that social time and that focus and having some structure to that. And this isn't for elementary schools, but the behavioral health support specialists in the middle schools are working with the school counselors around developing kind of more of those social engagement type groups. So maybe it's a book club, or it's just kind of a lunch bunch drop-in kind of situation where it's just time to socialize. So even though it is still remote, but it has that different flavor to it. And I wanted to just speak a little bit kind of to that, the reactive proactive piece, because definitely it's true that if you're talking about, suicide risk assessments, substance abuse assessments, nicotine assessments, those are more or less reactive. They're trying to be early intervention. But I think the behavioral health support specialists and the social workers really do try to work as much as they can with that education, prevention, developing the positive skills, and really being strength-based. And that the behavioral health positions for sure were developed with that in mind, so that it wasn't that you had to wait until you had a diagnosis and you needed a therapist, but that there was sort of healthy adults to additional healthy adults to have those relationships with, and to kind of get feedback from and learn skills around this to complement the social emotional learning that was happening in the schools already, and really enhance what the school counseling program starts out to try to do.
Okay, thank you, Christy, and everyone. I'm noticing that we have a couple comments. Let's see. Ideally, if the school can help set up play groups where kids could just call in for 30 minutes, one per week, it might help. It's a thought. We have just started Lunch Bunch for my 3 elementary school kids, so they see their friends during the school day. Let's see. Also now schedules are becoming more routine. Our teachers are having community time daily for my 5th grader, 2 times weekly for my 3rd grader. So these are great suggestions. And Kendrick, thank you for bringing up that question. And it sounds like you're being a great dad.
And Nancy also just chimed in with that if you have a kid in 3rd through 8th grade, there's a program through Lake Washington Schools Foundation called Kids Coming Together. And they're doing online games with other kids, pairing them with a high school mentor peer to help them learn social skills. And you can find more out about that on the Lake Washington Schools Foundation website, which is www.lwsf.org.
Okay. I'm just looking. I feel like we missed a few things. Well, a couple people answered from our question way back when, but let's see if we can. Is there anything else I'm missing here, Val? Do you see anything?
No, I think Bonnie had collected some questions prior.
Okay. Well, does anybody else have any questions or comments? While you're putting that in the chat, I will go back and mention what some of the people had said about what's going well for them. Anna said, kids have teachers they feel comfortable with and who seem to be responsive and dedicated. What are challenges? The tech is sometimes not working as expected. Some assignments are frustrating and lead to tears, both for my middle schooler and my elementary kids, especially if the tech is uncooperative. Do any of you have suggestions on what to do when you, oh my gosh, I'm having flashbacks of, with my own kids of what you do when the technology is not working. And you both are just in this high anxiety level. How do you suggest dealing with that?
Take a break.
Yeah, I was going to say hit the pause button.
Okay.
And get a snack in case you're hangry.
Yeah. Stand up
Are you
and
talking about
stretch,
me or
shake
my
it out.
daughter? Okay. So taking a break, maybe a 5-minute breather.
And I think there is actual tech support through the school district. I mean, depending on kind of what the issues are.
Yes. Yes. Very true.
Another thing too is that we're being really flexible with attendance, even though we are taking attendance every day, you know, for the synchronous learning. You know, if a student's unable to attend a class because of a technology issue, or, you know, they have to watch a sibling or whatever the reason is, they can still get credit for attending class that day as long as they participate. So if there's like a worksheet or something that the student's asked to do, as long as they're showing that they're trying and making an effort to do that, they will not be marked absent. So I know that can alleviate some stress, because I know some kids get really nervous if they know they're going to be marked absent.
Yes.
So that's something that can give you a little bit of peace of mind if there's a major technical issue.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see, I'm seeing, oh, Noah, you had also mentioned YMCA is offering some virtual and in-person activities. Okay, so there's a link there for anybody. Let's see, we have a WhatsApp group that we connect with parents, and one person parent that can navigate the others' help. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing, is to establish your tech support group.
Yeah, that's actually brilliant. Okay. So yes, I do have some questions here. Both my husband and I work out of the house, which means that my teenager is home with his younger brother and sister all day. He sometimes misses parts of his class to take care of them. And even when he's in class, he can be distracted by them. I think some of his teachers know about his situation, but he's still feeling like he's failing behind. I know he's doing the best he can. What are the rules about attendance this year? Oh, so you mentioned the attendance to some extent. And what can I expect from the school in terms of flexibility about unavoidable absences?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this already, but yeah, you know, as long as your child is engaging in the work for the day, they can still be marked present. But I really strongly encourage your child to reach out to the teacher of whose class they missed, because with the synchronous instruction, it's almost like it's even more important to be in class, if that makes sense, because they're not sitting in it, you know, they're not attending their math class 5 days a week. Now they're only doing it, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. So, you know, when they do miss content or like a live instruction, it can make a big difference. So if they do happen to miss, I really encourage them checking in with their teacher, and teachers can help kids catch up and fill them in on what they missed.
Great.
So I see a question that came up, and I have heard this question from a lot of different parents. And I think it's my high schooler, middle schooler, fill in the blank, is playing games with his friend while during school on the team meeting with his class. What is your thought? He says that's how he unstresses himself. And as a parent, of course, you're worried that they're developing skills or habits that are not great, or they're not learning, or everything else. It just plays into our anxiety for them. What do you say to that parent or to those parents?
I haven't thought about that. So I would think about, like, if there's a classroom situation and you are physically in the classroom, it's very legitimate that some students really need to have some kind of a fidget toy or do something with their hands, or have kind of planned out ways that they could calm themselves or that helps them to focus. I would say that it's kind of the same thing applies here. So, you know, if it was, I'm kind of thinking if you had your phone and you were playing a game with someone else and you were physically in the classroom, that would probably be distracting rather than helping you focus and stay calm. So I would talk through kind of that, like, okay, you know, is it more distracting, or is it more helping you to kind of focus and calm down? And what alternatives might there be that might be less disruptive? Because I think sometimes you don't want to just take away the tool that they're having. I mean, you know, so, okay, we'll take you seriously on that one, that it really is something that you need. Let's see if we can find something that works a little bit better.
At the hospital, similarly to what Christy's saying, everybody understands during trainings that it's really hard to stay focused. And with virtual learning, that's tenfold. So when we do trainings at the hospital, they put out pipe cleaners of all different colors on each desk, along with coloring pages and pens and crayons and things like that. And you will see a room full of adults from 20 to 75 taking the pipe cleaners and making things. And it's a really great way to do something in your hands, like Christy was saying, like a fiddle, a fidget toy, but still be engaged, versus a game where you're activating some of that ADHD of split attention for a lot of folks, and teaching them to have constant stimulation. It's also a way as a parent, you can say, okay, well, we're going to limit the screens. Like, how many screens do you need to have, but still giving them something to do.
I love that. And I love that somebody mentioned here, Kathy says, next to my daughter's desk, I have a 3-tiered cart. On the top shelf are forget toys, putty, gum, cards. Not sure what that is. Fidget, not forget. Fidget toys. So same suggestion. So thank you for sharing that. Great idea.
Carts is certs.
What's that?
It says carts is certs. Does everyone remember that candy? You could.
No.
Oh,
I see.
Yeah, they're like lifesavers, except that the rumor was that you could make them spark in the middle of the night, just like wintergreen lifesavers. Little known factoids or myths.
Let's see, how are we doing on time? Do we have other questions? If not, I still have some questions from others, but I don't want to miss anybody on here. Okay, well, let's see. My teenager spends all his time in his room and seems irritable and withdrawn all the time. He's not getting outside at all, and I don't think he's sleeping very well. He's not really responding to my helpful suggestions about good habits. How can I tell if this is just normal reaction to a bad situation or something more serious?
I mean, I tell everybody right now, all of our reactions are normal reactions to a not normal situation.
You're here.
And I see somebody else echoing that happened with their kid on the chat too. Somebody earlier was talking about a lot of these approaches seem reactive rather than proactive. I think that's a great time when you want to get them connected with a professional to be able to determine more if your kid might be receptive to coping skills that come from somebody else besides you, because your kids hear it from somebody else and it's the coolest thing they've ever heard, but coming from parents, it's not going to fly. But I think that would be a great time to reach out to your counselor and see if they can connect you to somebody from Evergreen or YES or whoever's at your kid's school. Because those are symptoms of depression and isolation, and whether that's brought on by the pandemic or not, it's still something really good to address earlier rather than later.
And normal, like you said, Brianne, to have those responses. But, for me, I'm finding it's normal for me to want to eat, a quart of ice cream on some days. Not really great if I do that all the time. So while it's kind of a very normal thing to kind of like, I just want to stay in bed, or I don't even want to deal with it. It's like, okay, we can have some space for that. But if it becomes like you're just stuck in that mode, that's not good. So let's kind of, again, diversify and move towards kind of what are maybe some just healthier ways of coping with it. And I agree with Brianne. Sometimes teens I had a teenager once. She grew up into an adult. So there's hope for those of you who have teenagers. But, there are just times when it's like, okay, what other tools can we add on and develop here and take that from someone else much better?
Sharing from my own experience real quickly, thinking about, finding help for your own child. I actually ended up having to get counseling for myself to be able to cope with seeing my children struggling so much. And it's incredibly powerful and so helpful for me because it sort of normalized what was going on in our house. And it's really hard seeing your kids really struggling, especially in a time like now, where emotions are so high. So, you know, I think a coping strategy for any parent, if they can, is to get support yourself so you can support your own kids at this time.
Yeah.
It's just so overwhelming. I mean, it's overwhelming for us adults, and then to throw that at kids is really hard too. So, okay, we have, let's see, just a few more minutes. Okay, I just found out that my daughter is being made fun of by other kids who are all texting each other during online classes. Some of the comments have included racial slurs. This sort of thing is not okay, but I'm not sure what to do about it that won't just make it worse for her, which is what my daughter is afraid of if I say anything. Any suggestions on what to do in that situation?
I would just say you definitely want to report it. I know it's very common for students and parents to be a little hesitant just because there could be a backlash, but you need to report it because it's not okay. And administrators and school counselors, we deal with this all the time, and you know, we can handle the situation in ways where whoever the perpetrator is doesn't know like who reported it necessarily. They might even think it was multiple like students. So there's not necessarily a way they can like single out you or your child. And just also, you know, it's very rare for retaliation to happen. I know it's a very common fear, but you know, in my 7 years of school counseling, I can't really even think of a time when it happened. I mean, usually when an administrator handles the situation does get better. So I definitely let the school counselor or an administrator know what's going on.
And I do think, depending on the grade level too, that behavioral health support specialists or the social workers can be really helpful for people experiencing that in terms of sort of helping them build their strengths and kind of work through the impact on them as well. So, and if you don't bring something to light and share it with somebody, I mean, it's a missed opportunity in a way.
Yeah, we have one more question that I see coming up. And they say, I think what school is sometimes missing is that even though they're doing the education in the setting, the kids still can't interact with each other. During a normal school day, they will chat to friends online, in recess, or inline or during recess. But in the online environment, they have shut down all possibility to just chat. So you don't have that normal interaction. The school response is to do play dates outside of school, but it's a big jump for my elementary kid from someone to chat with between classes to someone mom has contact info for and is setting up the play date. And my middle schooler is chatting on Skype with friends between classes, but not making any new friends for the same reason. And Kendrick is having the same issue as well.
Yep. I was so relating to that because I feel that way too with my coworkers. It's the just walk down the hallway and share something, and it's challenging, and I think you need to be intentional to build those things back in. And I think that's maybe some really good feedback for like Noah to bring to school counselors, to bring to teachers, to really kind of maybe be thinking about, how do we build some of that in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have been having the same issue with the team that I supervise. And so we do brunches now where I say like 30 minutes before a meeting, just like bring your food and let's chit chat. And sometimes I intentionally come late to that to allow people time to talk. But Christy's exactly right. Like adults are experiencing that too, that there's so much of the workday that I hate to say, but it's kind of spent dinking around building relationships with people. And school is no different than that. So I think, unfortunately, it's having to be intentional of, I love everybody talking about like the lunch bunch, but letting your kid be on the screen while they eat, because that's what lunch is. It's building social
or teachers building in some of that sharing time, or find someone that you've never talked to in this class, because I mean, it's true, this is still developing for the kids. I mean, we hopefully have developed some of that kind of social connectedness and those skills, and they're still working on that. So it really is, they're really missing out, and it's a challenge of this time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's really good feedback. I mean, I know we certainly are missing the same connections. And for kids that are just starting out building those social skills, this is just another little hurdle to figuring out how to make friends. And this is probably one that's going to be around for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Irene says, just to share a quote I read the other day, today I will not stress over things I cannot control. I kind of live through that someday. Okay, so Val, we're gonna, oh gosh, it is 8:30. This has been a lot of information. This is a hard time. And this is, you know, we need to keep communicating, keep looking at each other in the face, even though if it's on a screen. And just keep connecting and know that none of us are alone in this new journey of ours. And, you know, taking care of ourselves helps take care of our children. So thank you, Noah and Brianne and Christy. We really appreciate your information, your input, and we value it so much. So let's see, tomorrow, keep an eye out for your email with the slides and the resources. Please follow us on Facebook under Balance in Mind. And you are welcome to donate to Balance in Mind by help support our parent chats at tinyurl.com /BIM donate. And also just a reminder that I believe the month of October is, what do they call it? Employee
giving.
Yeah,
Workplace
so
giving.
yeah, keep that in mind when you're wanting to donate. Is there anything else I'm missing, Val? Do we have another?
We do have another slide.
Okay. Oh, and one of my favorite quotes, talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love, which I think is a really important one because sometimes we talk to ourselves in a way we would never talk to anyone else.
Right.
At least I'm
Truth.
myself.
Doing that for yourself, modeling it for your kids.
Yes, absolutely. And upcoming parent chats, October 7th, stress and teen substance use and abuse, what parents need to know. And then October 21st, parenting a student with special needs. And I think we are good, right?
Yeah, I would say if you're here tonight, you're already registered for upcoming parent chats and meditations that start 20 minutes beforehand on Parent Chat Wednesdays. And otherwise, if you want to share this with your friends, just ask them to register. Even if they had been part of Parent Chat last spring, we need to register again for this fall session. So just spread the word.
And Val, I just wanted to close with, Nancy commented on, she says, I'm being intentional about connecting with other parents just about every day, just so I can maintain my own mental health. And I allow my senior to interact with a very small group of friends who only interact with each other outside. It helps him feel more normal and he gets some exercise as well.
Great.
So remember, let yourself have space and take care of yourself and let your kids see a few friends too if you're comfortable with that. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you following Balance in Mind and making our community better. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.